Across the country, there's a youth mental health crisis. Concern has been growing for years, with the situation amplified by the pandemic. Reports indicate a rise in suicide and self-harm, as young people face a number of challenges that range from bullying to isolation to the pressures of social media. With limited resources, many are wondering, how can we help our struggling youth? Tonight's live broadcast and live stream of Insights on PBS Hawaii start now.
Aloha and welcome to Insights on PBS Hawaii. I'm Lauren Day. When you have a cut or dislocation, it can be easy to diagnose just by seeing or feeling that injury. But what about invisible wounds that many are suffering from? It's a troubling trend nationwide concerning our youth and their mental health. In 2021, the U.S. Surgeon General issued a rare public warning saying the challenges today's generation of young people face are unprecedented and uniquely hard to navigate. And the effect these challenges have had on their mental health is devastating. And while he said this issue cannot be fixed overnight, he added that the mental health challenges children, adolescents, and young adults are facing are treatable, and often they are preventable. We look forward to your participation in tonight's show. You can email or call in your questions, and you'll also find a live stream of this program at pbshawaii.org and on the PBS Hawaii Facebook page. We want this to be a conversation, so please email in those questions or call them in. Now to our guests, we've got Kaylee Aquaro, the Acting Administrator for the Department of Health's Child Mental Health Division. A graduate of Kamehameha School, she has a master's degree in clinical psychology. Kaylee lives in Waimea on Hawaii Island and loves hula. We also have Lawaiʻa Naihe. He is here tonight from the island of Kauai. Thanks for being here. He's Executive Director of Hoa Keo Lapono Trades Academy and Institute. The organization is a workforce readiness and development program that helps to service our Native Hawaiian and local communities. And 16-year-old Raphael Stark, the founder of a nonprofit support group called CHATS, which stands for Caring for Hawaii Teens with Speech Challenges. Besides serving as president of his nonprofit, he enjoys photography, videography, and he plans on majoring in film production someday. We also have in studio tonight Britt Young, a licensed marriage and family therapist and the founder and director of Explore Counseling LLC. She specializes in cognitive behavioral psychodynamic solution-focused and emotionally focused therapies. Your title is a bit of a mouthful. Thank you everyone for being here tonight. Raphael, I want to start with you. We're talking tonight about mental health challenges that our youth face. This is, you, your peers. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the challenges that, you hear your friends talking about and what your peers are facing in today's world?
Yes, so I know mental health is like one of the biggest topics now that youth of all ages talk about because it really impacts everyone. No matter how small or how big. And I know a big thing that I've heard in some of my friends is obviously school is one of the biggest impacts on a student's mental health. And I know that they usually talk about just the huge workloads. And I know one of my friends, she is a junior, and she says that with having work after school that goes until 9, that leaves like almost no room to actually do your homework, and that often they have to skip meals or family dinners or other events just because they have to fit in time for their homework.
Yeah. Britt, hearing Raphael mention that as a therapist, how important is it to make time for yourself? And, Raphael was mentioning just the workload that kids face these days. I mean, it's astronomical.
Yeah, we're just now coming out of a whole period of time, maybe decades, where parents and society was very achievement focused, right? And so it was tiger mom kind of, right, gone crazy. And so we're just now coming out of that focus on achievement to go, okay, what about resilience? What about self-care? What about taking care of yourself, slowing down? Maybe it's okay that you don't make this much money, but you enjoy what you do. It's interesting. The data says, back in 1950s, 60s, 70s, if you ask college students, what's your big goal in life? They would talk about self-actualization. They would talk about making a difference in their community, having stable relationships, getting married, maybe having children. Nowadays, if you ask students who are teens and young adults what their main focus is, it's money. How much money can I make? Can you imagine the pressure to make these grades so that you can go to college and major in something that makes you a lot of money? And that tends to be the main focus, putting a ton of pressure on kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Raphael, for you, do you think that social media has maybe increased, the pressures on young people, and then maybe even COVID on top of that?
Yes. So I know some of my friends had different takes on it. One of my friends said that social media is a great tool, but it can be used in the wrong ways, spreading misinformation or kind of bragging about one's life. And yeah, I'd say that a lot of the challenges facing youth does come from social media, because there's so much cyberbullying, and it's just hard to see kids just living their normal lives and being bullied just because, I don't know, they have a Samsung and not the latest iPhone, or they don't have a flat screen TV, or their parents don't drive a Tesla. And I feel like that's so much unneeded judgment, and just comparison. I feel like comparison is the leading cause of so many mental health challenges facing youth today.
Yeah.
That makes me think of, just when you think of social media, which is just baked into the fabric now. So obviously it's not realistic to say, oh, just don't use social media, But, I think there are healthy ways to use social media, but I think it comes down to real relationships that you have in real life. So if you're using social media to connect to actual people in your life that you care about and want to be connected to, I think that can actually be a really healthy thing. But I think Raphael mentioned a lot of other important things, which is, anything that's taking you away from feeling connected, that's taking you away from your real life relationships, whether that was COVID because it was isolating, or social media, which is pulling you away from real interactions. I think those things do over time start to have an impact, because really what we found in research is that what leads to resilience in young people is feeling connected at school, feeling connected to their family, having meaningful relationships with their peers. Those are really fortifying things for young people. And so that sounds like the common thread to me of the things that have already come up, is anything that's pulling them away from connecting with others probably needs to be looked at.
Yeah, I think the social media topic, kind of a double-edged sword, just because, you can connect with all of your peers, whether you're, in your youth years like Raphael, or those of all of us here on the table, on the panel, just to be able to connect and relate to other people. But then at the same time, as Raphael pointed out, just that comparison, I think that affects all of us. Levi, I'd love to hear from you. What are some of the challenges that you've seen as far as mental health challenges go that our youth are facing today?
COVID was a big thing. COVID forced everyone to isolate from everyone, you know, from family members, from friends, and just the normal everyday things that they did. But it's not nothing new, you know. Mental health has been plaguing us for centuries, you know, and now we have the education, now we have, you know, the mentors to bring it out. Yeah, the social media is huge. We have this tool that there's no instruction book, right? You know, and you can connect with anybody for anything, good and bad, you know, just like anything else in the world. Money, you know, social media, same thing. Too much of it or used in the wrong way can really be detrimental for personal and other people. And so I see that the most with our students nowadays, is that everyone is being compared to these other people's highlights. They're not even real life. Like, these are their highlights. These are like the best they can do for this 20-second reel or whatever. And it's like, oh, wow, it's perfect. You know, I mean, let's throw away the thousands of takes that we took, you know, but we're going to put it, and that gets them like, oh man, I couldn't do that. You know, I couldn't do that. Well, you know what? You could if you practiced. If you practice, if you did it 1,000 times, you'd probably be able to do it just like they did.
You know, and I have 2 teenage daughters who are all into social media. And what's so interesting is that they cognitively understand this is everybody's best life showing up.
Yeah.
But psychologically, it doesn't so much matter what you cognitively understand. There's still evolutionary instinct. And the instinct to envy somebody prettier and smarter and better than you sometimes overrides even the cognitive understanding that they know this isn't, this person's been airbrushed. Yeah. But still, the feeling is there. And that's what, over time, you know, neurons that fire together wire together. So if you're always feeling compared to, and you're always feeling envy and jealousy, eventually that can become like your default setting, and you can't help but go into society and participate that way without feeling jolts of envy and jealousy, and then that becomes like just how you are. And that's what I think I'm most nervous about personally, is seeing these default systems set up in my clients. It's like it used to be that I felt envious once in a while, jealous once in a while, but now it's a constant feeling several hours a day. And I'm worried, for me anyway, that our youth are going to just feel that way all the time, just walk around feeling a foundation of comparing themselves and not good enough and all of those things.
Well, and then add that to being on social media for hours and hours into the wee hours of the night. Now you're not getting good sleep.
Right.
And that can mess with your mood and how you're feeling and how you interact with other people. So yeah, there's so many parts to it, I think.
I'm curious to hear, maybe we can just go around, because I think everybody's going to have sort of a little different take, but when we talk about how social media is affecting our younger generation, like Britt, for you, when you hear one of your clients that talk about that jealousy and the envy and maybe some of the anxiety and depression that's making them feel, how do all of you respond to the people in our community who are bringing up these concerns?
For the children or for adults who are bringing it up?
I mean, honestly, for both. Yeah.
You know, we all seem to feel the same way, and yet it's like a freight train that took off and we're all on it and no one knows how to get off. So I think just generally, I feel a lot of empathy and camaraderie with everybody sitting at this table. Like, we all get it, and we're all trying in our own little cocoons of the world to do what we can to offset it. And yet, I'm not sure, frankly, what it's going to take to really move the dial. I know with my son's school, they're not allowed on their phones all day, and they're not even allowed on after school until they're in the car. And I like that. That's a nice long break from it. So I don't know, do schools need to get on board and implement some more of these policies?
Well, you know, when I deal with our students or individuals that have these questions, and I always bring it back to practice. Like, you know, you're looking again at this 20-second film or this 20-second take, or even if it's not on social media, even if it's in real life, I'm like, okay, well, I can't do that. And, you know, of course, they, oh, mister, I cannot do that as good as this guy. Hey, well, how much do you practice?
Yeah.
You know, how much do you practice? I see over here skateboarding all the time, and you suck at math. How much you skateboard? Oh, about 6 hours a day. You know, or 6 hours a week. I say, okay, well, how much times do you practice math? Oh, I don't do them. I said, well, you're gonna suck at math. That's just the way it's gonna be, And so I want to reinstill in them, like, I feel like we are pulling away from the work ethic from our students, and some of the students I see is like, oh, it should be just easy. I see it over here; it's just easy. It's not. You have to work for it. No matter what you want, you're gonna work for it. The harder you work for it, the better you're going to be. And I like to take the sports approach to everything that we do. Math, reading. If you want to read better, read more, right? If you want to write better, write more. Yes. So that's how I feel. That's how I like to approach those situations. Some kids don't like that because they want to hear you're supposed to just give me the answers. Like, the answer is to work harder. They don't want to hear that. They want the social
Give me the
media
other answer.
Yeah, the other one, the 5-second reel.
Yeah, Raphael, you're sort of you're kind of a leader in a sense for, I think, the youth, that you're so willing to be open about this conversation and this topic. So if any of your peers ever come to you, maybe with some of their concerns, or if they mention that they're feeling a certain way, maybe it's that envy from social media or, depression, anxiety, how do you respond to them?
I feel like I ask a lot of questions, like, okay, why, when did this happen? Like, I want to find the root cause of it. And if it's something on social media, I'll look it up and be like, okay, is this a real thing, or all of that. But I feel like a big thing is just educating those teens and youth to let them know that not all of it's real, even though it's called a reel, it's not real. And I feel like, yeah, like what you were saying about how they'll see a 20-second thing and then think that, oh, that's their entire life. And then I'm like, think about a movie. I'm like, it takes 2 years of planning and then a year of filming. I'm like, there's so many takes and all of that. And even after that, they have to edit only all of the good bits. And then I'm like, life is filled with ups and downs. Just because you only see a person's ups, to get up, you have to be down first. So I feel like that's the thing that a lot of youth kind of miss. Or I know another thing I see is so many really, really young kids are on social media. And for me personally, I don't think it's I know it's obviously up to the parents, but I personally don't think it's a really good idea, because then it's instilled in them at a young age that, oh, this is normal life, but in reality, it really isn't. Yeah, and I feel that that just needs to be taught to so many kids. And I know obviously COVID didn't help with that, because all youth really had was social media. They couldn't really go outside a lot. But yeah, that's kind of what I think on that topic.
Well, and it is a lot of content to process when you think about it, right? You're just kind of looking at 20-second reel after 20-second reel, and that's a lot of information coming at you, and depending on where you are developmentally, it's really hard to know what that content means to that young person, how they're interpreting it, what meaning it has. So, yeah, like you're saying, there's a lot in there and for someone to sort through of is this real? Is that realistic? Is that meaningful for me? Is that something I want to copy? Does that look cool? Do I like that? And that's happening in seconds, right, before they just scroll to the next reel.
Yeah. I do want to remind all of our viewers tuning in that throughout this program, we are going to be putting up some numbers for anyone who may be feeling like they need to reach out or if they need any sort of mental health support, there are numbers and hotlines and resources out there. So please take a look at your screen. We do have a crisis hotline that you can text and also a website as well. So from time to time throughout the next 30 minutes, 40 minutes or so, you are going to be seeing this graphic because we do want to make sure that all of our viewers have those resources out there. Speaking of resources and services, I have a question actually from John from Pearl City. Maybe, Levi, I'll put this one to you and then anybody else can chime in, but he's asking, how do we get more services to our youth? Is it up to the state, counties, federal government, or is it the private sector?
It's a combination of it. Everybody's got to come together. Everybody is, I think, traditionally we put it on different entities, and I personally don't feel like that's the answer. I think the answer is everybody needs to come to the table and everybody needs to bring something to eat to this table. We have really awesome resources, privately and federally funded. I mean, we have such good resources, but privately, there's a small group of population of kids that can get it, or people. Federally, you got a bigger portion, but it's not as good as a private. In my personal experience, but the resources are there. Everything you need are here. But if we could focus on getting people to work together and entities to work together, I feel like that would bring out the most, I think, success in our programs.
Yeah, Kaylee, I'd love for you to kind of chime in on that, especially since this is kind of your specialty as well.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I work for the State Department of Health, the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Division, and what you're saying is so true. If you don't have those kind of cross-cutting collaborations where people are partnering to work with each other, kids can fall through the cracks. Everyone has their eligibility criteria or what the funding is allowed to be used for, or the geographic location that you're allowed to serve. And so it really does take a patchwork of all of those things together to really make sure that there's a safety net in place for everybody.
Yeah. I also want to put really the seriousness of this conversation into context for our viewers. Just throwing out some statistics here. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, suicide is the third leading cause of death for our youth, that's ages 10 to 24. It is also the second leading cause of death for youth ages 10 to 14. I'm sure for our panelists here, maybe that's not such a surprising number. Unfortunately, I think for a lot of us, it is to hear that. Britt, can you talk about the difference between suicide and self-harm, and maybe even some of the other, invisible mental health challenges like anxiety and depression that a lot of our youth are dealing with?
No, it's a great question. And when someone finally takes that step to attempt suicide or make a plan, there's a finite amount of time when intervention can move the dial and save that person. And unfortunately, that's where I think the lack of crisis providers and service providers probably is the most acute in that sense. And so it's so great we have 988 now, we have that, but we didn't have that for many years, right? So self-harm, just to give you a little bit more definition, is on the rise quite a bit, especially around teen girls. If you've heard of the term cutting or anything like that, if any viewers have, that self-harm, whether it's a razor or even your fingernails, something that is harming you. And it doesn't always lead to a suicidal ideation or a plan, but it is an alarm bell. It is like something is going on internally that this person is turning to an external stimulus in order to relieve, in their minds anyway, to feel something if internally they feel numb. And actually that numbness, I don't know how y'all feel about it, but that's to me the scariest thing. A client comes in and says, I feel depressed, I feel sad. I'm like, okay, I can work with this. When they come in and say, I feel nothing, I feel numb, that's usually when self-harm will start to happen. That scares me a little bit into taking, extraordinary action, because what that means is that they've already passed the sadness and the depression oftentimes to now the nothingness. And so that is where I think we've seen the trend up is that the symptoms of depression have become so severe and they haven't been caught in time that now they're into the numbness and why live? Is that what you're feeling too or seeing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think with suicide, I mean, it's so important that we're having this conversation. It is Mental Health Month. And I think a lot of what makes suicide so dangerous is the isolation. It's so stigmatized. It's such a scary topic that people don't want to talk about it. And there is a fear, a myth, that if you talk about it, you're going to cause it. And actually, not talking about it is letting it happen. And so I think that the really important thing, for people to understand about suicide is that most of us, sometimes you can tell that something is off. Not necessarily you don't know if the person is thinking about suicide, but if it's somebody that you have a relationship with, you can tell that something is wrong. And that can be really scary for people because they might feel like, I don't want to ask if they're thinking about suicide because then what if something terrible happens? But I think the important thing about suicide is that by bringing it out into the open, you actually do take some of the power out of it by letting someone know, I see you, I care about you, I'm worried about you, and if you're feeling this way, let's get some help. Let's call 988, let's text, let's chat, I think that's so important to talk about it so that it's destigmatized and people can get the support that they need.
I think you just answered this viewer's question, but it's a perfect transition and maybe everybody else can weigh in. This viewer wrote in, the news media does not report on suicide. The assumption is that it will encourage it more. But do you think that should change? Would knowing how often it actually happens help drive the conversation and help everyone see the urgency for change? Britt, I'll let
That's
you.
a tough one.
I know, Britt,
I
I'll
used
let
to
you
be
take
in
it
the
first.
news business, so now you got me. Actually, there is data to support that, yes, reporting on suicides causes a spike. Now, I don't know the exact psychology behind that, except for it could normalize, oh, that person did it and I've been thinking about it. There could be copycats, that type of way. I think there might be a better way to talk about it as opposed to broadcasting it in the news. When a celebrity, though, when that happens to a celebrity, we end up reporting it anyway. So the data doesn't seem to lie, and it does cause a spike, but is it causality? Is it correlational? It's hard to say. One thing I was going to say about the texting, though, is there's really neat data about therapists. There was an experiment, I think it was veterans who were thinking about suicide, or they had some suicidal ideations, and getting a text every day from their therapist or someone they care about saying, how are you doing? Just checking on you. I'm thinking about you. It cut their suicide rate by close to 20%. So something about that human connection, and how easy, in air quotes, would that be for a therapist or a professional or someone to check in on someone who's actively suicidal every day and maybe move the dial that way?
Lavaya, curious to hear how you feel about that.
Yeah, again, that's extremely tough to talk about. It's needed. It needs to be out there. It needs to be said. How we say it, I think you can also put those people into like this hero category, right? Like, oh, they got all this publicity for doing this to themselves, and then we hear of these other situations where people manipulate other people to commit suicide so that their boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever, can get that notoriety or that support from everyone else, by causing someone else to push it to. So that's definitely a tough one. I definitely feel we need to open it up and open up the conversation for people to be able to have that conversation. Personally, I am all about trying to instill hope into people, just like drugs. I think drugs and suicide, they're all on that same thing, kind of on that same path. I lost hope, and I don't know what to do. What else can I do? And if we can all just help to instill hope, in my opinion, and of course it's just my own opinion, I just feel like we could help do a lot of good things, so.
Yeah, we also have another viewer email question actually asking about, are prescribed medications a contributing factor to mental health problems? Britt, maybe anyone can
Prescribed
take it in, but
medications like psychotropic medications to treat mental health conditions?
yeah,
Or
I
they
think
mean,
they're probably referring to, any sort of medications that maybe a therapist would prescribe for, children that might be diagnosed with something.
Sorry, and they're asking if it increases the likelihood of mental
Yeah,
health?
they're asking, are prescribed medications a contributing factor to mental health problems?
I think probably the inverse is somewhat true, in so much as plenty of folks, my clients included, have felt respite and relief going on anxiety medications, depression medications. Doesn't have to be forever. Sometimes it does. I would imagine that for every one patient who has an adverse reaction to a psychotropic medication, and of course the fine print says could increase suicidal thoughts, right? And that's very scary for some people. But for every person that is having an adverse reaction, I'd like to believe many are finding relief and help in that psychotropic medication. I think it also matters about your prescriber. Is your prescriber connecting with you during your appointment? Are they monitoring your medications very carefully? We have several prescribers at Explore Counseling, and they're so good about checking in. They don't just write 90-day scripts and then never see you. So the quality of the care does matter, I think, too.
Yeah. And I think in combination with therapy, I think sometimes it can be tempting to think, oh, I could take a pill and that would solve all the problems. I think Britt's absolutely right. It can get you to a place where you can engage in therapy more fully and get the most out of it. So I think the combination is actually better.
Yeah.
Great point.
I do want to segue and start talking about the resources that are out there in our local community. Lawaiʻa, I'll start with you. Do you mind telling us just a little bit about Hoʻakeʻolapono, what you all do, and how you help the local community?
Well, to start, Hoʻakeʻolapono means to spark or ignite hope, or that good life. And that's what we try to do. We want to give our students and our individuals the hope and the, I can do it mentality. I don't care what you started at. Everybody's gonna suck at the beginning, no matter what you do. Everybody's gonna be junk in the beginning, and you're going to get better. And just give them the hope, like, hey, you're gonna continue to get better. We are a trades program, workforce development, training, and educational program. We bring our kids in. We have 3 programs: a high school program, 9th through 12th grade. We have an internship program, 17 to 24, and we have an all-females program. And they all work the same. We teach them financial skills, investment skills. We teach them how to not just go to work and do work, but how to strive to be really good at it. And not in a competitive way. Like, hey, we all have, it doesn't matter what we do, we're a part of a team. We're part of a team, we have a goal, and we need to hit that. And I think that's a lot of the mental health that we feel now is we're just getting so disconnected from everyone, right? There's no team. There's families, your own family, there's no team. There's everybody is for themselves. My kids too, they lock themselves in the room and they go on their phones or they go on their TV, and we got to pull them out, and just trying to instill that team in everything you do, whether it's marriage, whether it's work. You're going to deal with a team, and you're going to have to work together.
And what you're saying is so palpable, because 2 of the main insulators of anxiety and depression, the armor you put on to not feel that palpably, is intimate connections with others, and then achievements, feeling like good about yourself, resilience, getting good at something. Think about what we took away during COVID. Those 2 things. We were socially isolated, and then we took away the opportunity in team sports, etc., to get good at something, to build skills at something. So it's not a huge surprise we're here, because 2 of those insulators to mental health problems were basically erased for a year and a half or 2.
Yeah. I love what I'm hearing. I'm hearing community, building community, and also checking in on your friends, your loved ones. Raphael, our 16-year-old panelist here, You've done that tremendously, being the founder of Chats, again, caring for Hawaii teens with speech challenges. Tell us a little bit about Chats and what you all do and that community that you've built.
Yes, so Chats is a 501c3 corporation. I founded it about 2 summers ago as I was looking for local groups in Hawaii for teens who have speech challenges, and there weren't any, so I decided to start my own, and with the help from family, friends, and local organizations, I was able to found it. And our main goal is to bring education to the community about those with speech challenges while providing support and encouragement to those teens.
Really cool. Again, building that community, right?
Yes,
and making
yes.
like your peers feel like they're not alone. I do want to take a quick break because Raphael here, only 16, but also you love videography and you're really talented at it. Raphael participated in our Hiki No program. He actually put together a really incredible video on an awesome resource for our youth. So let's take a look at this video on Spill the Tea Cafe.
What do you get when you cross a cafe with a therapy clinic? You get a nonprofit organization called Spill the Tea Cafe. This teen therapy clinic is located in Honolulu and is co-founded by local teen Nat Stromback.
We give single therapy, group therapy, and it's just also a place to hang out because we have like video games, we have board games and a foosball table, and like snacks, drinks, boba.
Maddie had this idea actually in the 5th grade to have a Spill the Tea Cafe, which was a mental health clinic, you know, for people in general, but just, I think Maddie wanted to integrate like the cafe vibe with the clinical vibe because it's not something that we are used to. And I think for Maddie and for myself as well, like sometimes therapy can be scary or it can feel very sterile.
A difficult time in Matt's life helped to reveal a new passion.
I went to therapy because my parents got divorced. And so that's when I learned about the 5 stages of grief. And then that's what got me interested in psychology.
Spill the Tea Cafe's licensed therapists offer professional group and individual sessions by appointment on their website. But walk-ins to talk, enjoy boba, or play games are always welcome as well.
It doesn't just feel safe, it is safe. It's somewhere where you want to go, right? And so if we have all these things, not only are they already gonna have a positive connection with the therapy without feeling uncomfortable, they're also gonna have the positive connection of being able to come here with their friends anytime.
A lot of people don't realize that suicide is the #1 cause of death for kids in Hawaii, ages 15 to 24. And so I really just felt like this was a really good time to take action and really, you know, bring Maddie's vision to life.
I really like the people here and the environment. It's very calming and everyone's really nice. It's very accepting.
It just gives me hope to see Maddie and other kids thriving here. And it also gives me the motivation to continue this because nonprofit work is pretty difficult, but it's definitely worth it.
This is Raphael Stark, a homeschooled sophomore for Hiki No on PBS Hawaii.
First of all, really well done, right? Rafa, you definitely have a talent for videography. I know you told me earlier that you wanted to major in film someday when you go to college, so definitely see that path for you. And it was cool seeing our panelists as you all were watching the video. I saw you guys nodding your heads. Raphael, do you feel like more cafes like Spill the Tea Cafe are needed or more resources like that for you and your peers?
Yes, so as mentioned in the video, their main thing is to break kind of that like sterile feel of therapy, because I feel like that can turn away so many kids, and again, turning back to the judgment. Like, there's so many judgment and stigmas surrounding those who want to get therapy and get help. So I definitely think that there should be more safe spaces like Spill the Tea Cafe in all places of the world, because as it is great to have like therapy clinics, there's not really like just like a second home where you can go to and feel safe with other teens like you that will understand you and are going through similar challenges.
Absolutely, and especially I would think if somebody's never had any exposure to therapy or maybe doesn't know what it's like or what it would be like, a place like that would be so much more accessible, I think, and like, oh yeah, well, I would definitely go to a cafe where other young people are and hang out. That, I think, probably sounds like an easier way to start their journey than just going to a clinic to see a mental health professional that they have never met before or something like that. So that's a great way to make the service more available to young people.
I know we're on that topic of the resources that are out there. Kaylee, what are some of the signs that parents can look out for in their youth to, be able to understand, is my child struggling with, maybe it's anxiety or depression, or, hopefully not, but maybe even worse?
Sure. Well, I think the main thing to keep in mind is that any dramatic change in behavior is worth paying attention to. So you really do want to notice things like, do they all of a sudden not seem very interested in things that they used to really take a lot of joy in? Or are they withdrawing from friends and family? Or are they not sleeping anymore, or sleeping too much? Or, your child the best. And so it's really about noticing if there's been a dramatic change, and then talking to them about that. And there are a lot of resources out there, like you said. There's a website called Help Your Keiki. That's for parents, that talks about things to look for, what to look for in a therapist, what to expect out of therapy, things like that. 988 is also a great resource in terms of connecting you with what's in your community. So there really is help out there. I think people just have to take that step. Take that step, acknowledge that maybe something's not where you want it to be, that you're worried, and look for the resources that are close to you.
And what's interesting on that note is children and teens will almost always tell you without telling you. Like, they're not going to come up and say it. In my own home, one of my daughters, right when COVID started, her room was beige and pink, and then all of a sudden it became green and black. And it was clearly depression, and we had to go address that. And then when she worked through it, the room became beige and cream again. And if I hadn't paid attention to just room decor, it would have been hard to understand what's really going on. So I think kids and teens will tell you, but these signs, these messages can be very subtle.
Mm-hmm. You got to look really hard. Like you said, it's so subtle. Not only that, our parents, they're working 2 jobs. Yeah. They're not around. They're stressed out, and they're going through their own types of depression that their kids are just feeding off of. That's just, they're absorbing all of we as adults, they're absorbing all of our stress. Whatever the stress is, all stress is, So I think getting into it needs to be a holistic thing. Families need to start being families again. People need to start communicating with people. For me, that's always the best way. I know if I come into the house and I'm quiet and I'm shut off, everybody else is going to be quiet and shut off. But if I come into the house and I'm, jovial and happy and like, hey, let's go guys, get up, whatever, they're going to want to do that as well. So, I think going back to it, parents need to look at themselves too. Like, what are we doing to our families, you know?
That's a good point, right? Because we've been told, okay, stop focusing on achievement. Okay, that's 2 decades ago. Now let's focus on happiness. But the data really is very clear. Just focusing on what makes my child happy in this moment actually doesn't build resilience. And resilience is one of those depression busters. So like you're saying, you know, Mom, Dad, I want to sit in my room all day and just play video games. That's what's going to make your child happy. But what's going to make your child resilient and happy in the long term? Social connections, getting good at something, meeting goals and benchmarks. And so it's a whole different world out there for parents even. During COVID, we were like, whatever makes you happy, just do it, please. And now we're feeling the fallout from that. Yeah.
And I think even the communication part that you were talking about, which is so important, can be scary for a lot of parents. Like, oh, you know, I don't want to talk to them about it because they're going to think I'm being weird. They're going to get mad at me. They're going to push me away. I don't want to be overbearing. I don't want to be nosy. You know, we have a lot of ideas in our head that might stop us from opening up that line of communication. But I think what's really important to remember is that by checking in, by asking, you're communicating a lot of important things. Even if you end up being wrong, even if you've totally misread it and nothing's going on, you're communicating that I see you, I care about you, I worry if things seem off, I'm here to help you, and I am somebody that you can talk to if things are going wrong. And I think the other thing that scares parents sometimes is, what if I ask a question and then I don't know what to do with the answer? What if I get an answer that's scary or that I don't know how to fix? And that can be very scary as a parent. We like to fix things, but I think it's important to just be honest about that, you know, that's, wow, that is really scary. I didn't know that you were going through that. I'm not totally sure what to do. Let's figure this out together. Let's check out 988 and see what's on there. Let's talk to, you know, so-and-so. It's okay to model how you would solve that problem or what you want to do next to try to support them.
Raphael, if I can maybe ask, this might be a little bit of a personal question, but have your parents ever maybe checked in on you in a way that you felt was really valuable or meant a lot to you, or maybe it was a peer who checked in on you? I'm curious to hear from, you know, your perspective, what worked or what was helpful.
Yeah, definitely. So I know COVID was a big thing. Kind of like my whole family kind of checked in on each other a lot because like like COVID was a big thing. Like it's a big, like, I don't want to say like it's like it was just like a big thing that everyone had to deal with. And I felt like like in that moment, like families kind of became families again. Like it was obviously a really bad thing, but it kind of like showed people like both sides of like going outside or like just like staying with your family like all the time. Yeah, and I know me personally, like I really try to check up on all of my friends like as many times as I can, and I know my friends check up on me and like what we were saying earlier was it's the whole community coming together to help each other, because like one person, like they can do a lot, but if it's not a bunch of people, then like it's not really as impactful as a community coming together to help each other and others at the same time.
Raphael, do you have any advice for parents out there who are watching on maybe the word choice or what they can say to check in on their kids?
Yeah, so I know it sometimes varies depending on the child or family, but honestly, just the bare minimum is all you need. Just saying, hey, how are you? And then letting them know that like you really care about their answer. And maybe if your kid just gives a one-word answer, like kind of like make them like don't make them, but like
Force them.
yeah, like push them to kind of like say more about school or about their actual day. And then definitely like what all of you were saying about like looking for those like subtle changes can really also show your kid that you're paying attention to them. I'd say another thing is keep track of what makes them happy or what you think makes them happy. Because it can be two completely different things, and some parents think that they're helping their kid when they're actually hurting them. And that is the same with speech challenges too, because a lot of parents can think, oh, if I just tell them to relax and just like slow down, then it'll help. And I'm like, well, not exactly. And I think also like before the parents like put judgment into their minds, they can like really get to know what their child is going through. And even they themselves can learn something through the situation.
We just have a few minutes left. I'm gonna let everyone have a last few words, but I have to read this wonderful comment that a viewer emailed in. It's not a question, it's a comment for Raphael actually. Okay. This viewer says, Raphael is impressive. Please let him know he is an inspiring youth leader and very insightful. Hoping he will continue to advocate for people with differences. One of the best panelists over many insight shows that have been presented.
Oh, thank you.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much to that viewer. I wish the viewer left a name so that we could thank
thank
them.
you
But
so much.
I think all of us here definitely agree as well. Again, just a last few minutes here, I want to give everyone a chance to kind of go around, maybe, any last things that our parents can look for. I mean, not just parents, but even, friend to friend, because sometimes it's even the folks who are smiley and who seem like they have it all put together that really are struggling inside.
And that's really well said. And it's interesting because you would think the child who's acting out or who is coming to you saying that they're sad are the ones you need to worry about. Chances are they have a handle on some of their emotions, at least enough to come and communicate what's happening. For me, the children who are at most risk are the ones who are self-isolating, cutting in secret. Maybe they're not the ones who are in front of you going, I'm in trouble and I'm struggling. They're silent. And so maybe it's true. We do need to pay more attention as parents and as educators to these very subtle signs that something's wrong. It's almost never the child that's saying, I'm hurting out loud. It's the child who's not saying it at all.
Yeah, any advice or anything you would like to say to our viewers on that?
I think people, parents, especially parents, should reinforce with their kids, like, how much they love them and how much they're proud of them, how much the good things, reinforce the good things and really strive for them to want to make you proud, because I think the best thing a parent could do or a child could do is try to make somebody proud. Because then they're going to work as hard as they possibly can to accomplish whatever that is, just to make whoever that one person is. So whether, like you said, it's not your friend, your parents, whoever that person is, stress, if you have a person in your life that is feeling some kind of way, go out to push them to be proud of something, whatever that is. That's what I would say. Push people to be proud.
We just have a few more seconds, so really quickly, Rafael, last words.
I really like what you were saying, and I think that a big thing is just keeping in mind that your children have a life too, and just making sure that their lives are going to be great, and in the great that they want their lives to be.
Really well said.
Absolutely. Relationships are important. Take care of them. Take care of each other.
Community, checking in, right? Even the simple things matter, right, Rafael? Well, thank you all so much for joining us. This is a topic that I think we could probably ramble on and discuss for many more hours, such an important topic. We want to thank you, all of our viewers, for tuning in, your wonderful questions, and also wonderful comment from one of our viewers as well. And we also want to say a big mahalo to all of our guest panelists. We've got Kaylee Aquaro from the Department of Health. We've got 16-year-old Rafael Stark. We have Lavaya Naihe of the Ho'akeo Lapono Trades Academy and Institute, and licensed therapist Britt Young. Next week on Insights, it's a wrap for this year's legislative session. We'll hear from state lawmakers and community watchdogs to go over what exactly they did and how it will benefit Hawaii residents. Please join us then. Thank you all for watching. I'm Lauren Day for Insights on PBS Hawaii. Aloha.